Hello, highest teas. Good day, good afternoon, good evening. I hope all are well. Hope all are safe. I want to try to make this really quickly, but I want to mention something as far as setting the record straight, and when it comes to justice, because literally, actually, and before I begin, to anyone who's in California, hopefully you're staying dry and staying unfazed with the floods. So I don't know if it's more in the mountain areas where it's being flooded, but it's really bad. Like it's literally deadly. So they're saying like don't come out unless you're running from a flood. So basically, if you're around the flooded areas, it's yeah, you find a safe place. Because remember how I mentioned in California, depends on where you are. Like I say, some parts are dry, some parts are literally over flooded. But I'm not near the mountain area. I can see the mountain areas, but I want to say that I'm nowhere near the mountainous areas, but I want to say the main flooding is in that area, perhaps in the Hollywood area. They said Hollywood area is kind of flooded too. I don't know for sure because I haven't been to Hollywood in a little while. Yeah, but it is still raining. I want to say it's been raining 2 days straight now, if I'm not mistaken. So I think all of today is supposed to be rain and maybe all of tomorrow. But it's not like on this side it's not heavy rain. It's just kind of like maybe medium low rain, but it's constant. Yeah. So again, hopefully all are well and all are safe as far as the flood aspect. Yeah. But continuing with what I was saying, as far as like creating justice, well, because long story short, and I didn't get the young lady's name. I could look it up, but there's so many scenarios as this. But there was a mother. I don't know if she was a single mother or married or anything, but there was a long story short, there was a mother from I believe this it was in the 80s that this happened, maybe early 80s. But somehow her 7-year-old daughter was she was harmed and killed by a grown-ass man. So basically he had his way with the little girl and then killed her. And long story short, the mother caught wind about it, and she wanted her justice. And I don't know if the court process was moving too slow, or if maybe she just felt like, okay, well, I'm dead inside, or I feel empty, or I have to create justice for my daughter. So basically, long story short, she took matters into her own hands, and she basically emptied 6-7 bullets into the perpetrator who harmed her daughter and left her harmed. And honestly, I had no problem with that. Like, they literally showed a reenactment of her literally, I don't know if she was in a courtroom or if they were meeting with lawyers, but the perpetrator was there, and it was three other men there. So like I said, I don't know if this was a court meeting, but she basically emptied the clip in him. He virtually died. And I think, long story short, she probably got, 3 years or something like that, just to say, hey, you don't do that. But I kind of, I felt her pain. I felt the scenario. Like I said, I wasn't mad that she created her own justice. Honestly, almost all the time. And at this point, I feel like I would have to create my own justice. I feel like if I want anything to move, I would have to create my own justice. I feel like if I want to make wrong right, I would have to create that justice, because there is no, I don't know, I don't want to blame it on LA. I don't want to blame it on the world. I don't even want to blame it on America. But there's no number that I can call for help. My help either comes from within or from the Lord himself, so it's like, it'd be one of them things where it's like there's no judge, attorney, or police that I can call to help me, so to speak, when I need justice. You see what I'm saying? Now, they might show up to shoot me or to shoot my friend, but you know what I mean? Hey, something happened. You'll be lucky if they show up to help you. You see what I'm saying? Most of the time when they come around, you see these videos, when they're coming around to finish you, not to help you. So anyway, yeah, like I say, I'm all for the creating your own justice. So she created her own justice. She got rid of the perpetrator, but then I was kind of thinking of her. My focus went back to her. So I'm thinking like, I'm all for the justice. But what about you, Mom? Where were you, Mom? And how did he get his hands on your child? Like I said, I could have done the research on, on her story. What happened? Like, how did he get, was she kidnapped? Was she taken from school? And honestly, the reason why I didn't look it up, or because That's not the only time that scenario has happened. It happens all the time, to where you send your children off, you either to band camp or to school, or you send them to your parents' house or whatever it is, and they come back deceased or not in the same piece, so to speak. And we can blame the perpetrator. Okay, well, you were supposed to babysit them, and while they were babysitting with you, the little boy drowned. It was a scenario of that. Okay, I left my children with the babysitter, and the little baby drowned in our pool. And like I say, okay, the perpetrator is the babysitter. Where were you, babysitter? Where were you? Okay, so the babysitter was probably asleep or obviously not doing their job. But then like, oh, okay, well, the babysitter is the perpetrator. But then you got to look at the parents. Where were you, mom? Where were you, dad? I'm sure that's what the children, you as the parent are looking at the perpetrator. What did you do to my damn child? What did you do? You know, you're panicking. What did you do? Even at school, I send my children to school, public or private, for them to learn a thing or two. So when they come back and they can't read or they're no good to nobody, I'm looking at the teacher. What did you do to or why didn't you teach? And that's a legitimate question. But then also the children is going to ask their parents, what did you do? And where were you, mom and dad? That's why I'm wondering, where was her mom? Where was her dad? The mom was there because she was the one to get the news. Where was father? Like I say, I don't know if she was a single mother or if maybe the father is deceased. I don't know. But again, the child is going to be wondering, where were you, mom? She's not worried about the perpetrator because she's in the hands of danger. When she's in the hands for danger, most of the time when children get in trouble, mom, dad, they cry for their parents. Where were you? So that's why I say, if we're going to be creating our own justice, you got to save some of that justice for yourself as a parent. Something happened to your children, you mean them well all day. I'm not saying that you're a vicious person because something happened to your children. You mean them well. You want them well. But when something happens to them, your children is going to look to you. Where were you when I'm getting kidnapped and Lord knows what to me? Where were you? Did you send me off to school? Did you send me off to band camp? Did you send me to grandma and grandpa's house? Did you send me away in order for me to be harmed is what I'm asking. Because sometimes, and I don't want to sound cruel, but even sometimes in the aspect of being kidnapped, it's like you still kind of failed in a way, you know, and it's what it sounds, it really does sound insensitive. Like, okay, well, how can I help the situation if I get hit across the head? Because that's what happened. You got hit across the head, and they were able to come in and swoop your children. That's what happened. Most of the time, when things happen to the children, it doesn't necessarily always happen at home, but it definitely starts at home. And you're like, well, how can it start at home? They were never harmed here. But the harm starts the second they step foot out of the door. Once they leave your door to be sent to Lord knows where, then it's free game for your children. You see what I'm saying? And like I say, you mean them well. You just want them to go to school to learn. Or you just want them to go to camp to learn how to play baseball. Or you just want them to go to ballet to learn how to dance. Or you just want them to go to music class to learn how to play an instrument. That's all. But Lord knows what goes on when your children leaves your presence. You are the protector. So when you send your children to these schools or these camps or these other places where you're not around, then unfortunately your children are free game. And probably not necessarily something that you know about or anything that you want. And like I say, you mean them well. You don't want anything to happen to your children, but when you don't have them, they are technically free game to predators. Predators, that's what a predator's thinking. Oh, I got a loose cannon here, which is your child. Because you're not in the picture. So what a predator is thinking, that's free game to them. And you're thinking like, oh, okay, they're off to school. Now I'm off to work. They leave. And like I say, there's something about being outside of your presence. And that's why I say most of the time it starts at home. Like I say, you can mean them well, but once you put them on that bus or put them, wherever they're going to where they're leaving your presence, you don't know what your children are being exposed to. So I guess I could have done my research to see how that the child was able to get into the hands of a predator, but I didn't bother doing that because like I said, there could be so many scenarios as to why. And that's what I'm kind of looking at. And it still comes back to the parents, where were you? Where were you? Did you send her off to band camp? Was he a teacher? So it's like, you just don't know. You don't know. And that's the problem. We don't know where we're hell. And I'll even take it a step further. Some of us don't know and don't care what our children are being exposed to when we are not around. And we can just tell by what we're seeing in social media and what we're seeing as far as our surroundings in real life, that it can't be anything positive going on with the youth when there's nothing positive to be absorbed, so to speak. You see what I'm saying? If they're exposed to the same things that we're exposed to as adults, then it's like that can't be a healthy environment, you know. So that's why I'm like, okay, where are the parents? You know what I mean? Are you looking forward to getting your children out of your hair? Okay, I gotta put you in school so I can work, or I gotta, you know, because especially if you're doing this yourself. And I know sometimes I can be hard on single parents or single mothers in particular, since those are the main, you know, guardians of the children. I know it can be hard. Like literally, I grew up raising children. Like literally, we still have children coming in by the dozens. Like I will forever have a newborn in my hand or in my chest. So I know what it's like to raise children. I've probably raised, I would say, at least 100 children now. Mine, yours, and everyone else's. You know, so I can say though, yeah, that's why I literally stand on anything that happens with children starts at home. It either starts at home because that's where it's happening at home, or it starts at home because I was basically sent out of the house, you know. I was fine until I went to camp. I was fine until I went to school, or fine until I had to walk home. There have been stories of children just walking home from school, and there's somebody waiting for them in a bush. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it's, oh man, you know, I can't stress it enough to protect your children, you know what I mean? And like I say, and I don't understand you're doing this yourself, and I'm thinking for single mothers, just the fact that you are doing this yourself, or the fact that it's you and you have 4 or 5 children to take care of, that should make you up the ante on the security, up the ante on your spidey senses, up the ante on red flags, like meaning nothing can slip through the cracks. Since it's just me, any little thing that sounds strange has to be addressed. So that means, well, since it's just me and there's 6 of you all, we have to keep everything close knit. You know, you can't say it's just me, I'm doing this myself, because that makes you vulnerable, meaning you're going to be a target. So if it's just mom with all these children around, it'll be nothing to get their hands on all of you. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying with single mothers in particular, if it's just you and it's so overwhelming, that should make you automatically up the security, up the ante. That means it's mandatory to be armed, because it's just you. You're already vulnerable, but you're definitely vulnerable by yourself. And let's say that you can fight, or you're a karate ninja, but if your hands are full with car seats, you know what I mean? How are you going to fight with a baby on your hip? You have to up the security, because it's just you. That don't mean come down some, oh, it's just me, so now I have to let my guard down or turn off my spidey senses because it's just me. No. Up the ante. Yeah, so I just thought I'd put that 2 cents in and, you know, just bring awareness to that, you know, because I think a lot of women think like, okay, well, and I don't want to talk down on the women, but it's like, I don't know, a lot of women think that, you know, I don't know if you think you're the prize or if you really let society and social media get to your head, because some people do that too. I know for sure the Democratic Party has this really bad with pumping up women. Ooh, you go girl, or you got it going on, or you're the best. They'll pump your head up, but that's called false advertisement. You know, and there's nothing wrong with having high self-esteem. Like, please love yourself. Please feel warm and beautiful inside. And there's nothing wrong with that. But don't ever feel like you're untouchable, or that you're invincible, or you're safe, so to speak. Don't ever feel like you're not on the hit list. Is all I'm saying. You know? So that's what I'm just saying. Just don't ever let your guard down, because being a single woman, just a woman without the children on your hips, you're a target. And then let alone being a target and then having other targets too. So that ain't like, oh wow, that's going to be something to a predator. That's like, wow, that's going to be like literally a 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1. You know, like, oh wow, we got a whole minivan full of people that we can take advantage of. You see what I'm saying? So that's why you need to up the ante when it comes to security, when it comes to protecting your children. What I'm saying, basically, long story short, you should be biting people's heads off, protecting your children, not letting your guard down. You know, I would rather you be overly vicious and literally biting and snapping at everyone that comes. Hey ma'am, you drop your mail, and you literally bite the mailman's head off for him giving you your mail. Like, literally, you need to be that type of protective over your children, you know. And I'm not saying that you can't accept help, but you literally have to be on high alert when it comes to protecting yourself and your children, because you are one of the number one targets, if not the number one target, when it comes to predators. The single woman is going to be a target. Cause like I say, you're a single woman, and if you come with single woman with children, like, oh, that's a predator's dream. Okay, so, and just by me hearing that story, just so you won't have to get some of that justice, because like I say, the lady, like I was all for her literally emptying the clip in this predator, but at the same time, I was like, well, hey, lady, you were saving the bullet for yourself, because aka your daughter ended up in the hands of a predator. You see what I'm saying? So it's kind of look at that mom too, like, oh, hold on, don't shoot him so fast. What about you? You know what I'm saying? So I'm all for justice, but that means everybody's gonna have to pay the piper, not just him. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying you have to really protect your children. High alert. Like I said, I would rather you just literally biting everybody's head off and your children are safe, versus you letting your guard down because you're tired or because you're doing this yourself or whatever the case may be, and you and your children are at harm. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, again, hopefully we've learned something about how to protect ourselves and especially our children, you know, and then, like I say, and then when it comes to trust too, I don't know if a lot of people, maybe they know they're around people who they can't trust, but then they can't afford, you know, better care, or they don't have time, or they're tired, whatever it is. It's like sometimes when you don't have what you need, it becomes low values, and it means like, oh, okay, well, you're at the babysitter that charges $20, and that means your children's obviously they're not going to get cared for properly. So that means, you know what I mean, that's letting your guard down. So I don't know, just you got to do what's worth it. Because like, is it worth to put your children in danger so you can make $10 an hour? Because these people that are putting their children in danger, they're not working any CEO jobs. They were just working regular road $10 an hour jobs, you know. I'm not knocking your job, but I'm just saying it's not worth putting your children in danger so you could still be short on cash at the end of the day. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, a lot of people, they don't agree with, and they don't like doing homeschooling. A lot of women, men and women, they don't like to be with their children 24/7. And that's another thing too, since I'm already babbling about it. A lot of people don't like to be with their children. They say a lot of men, and I don't know if I need to make a separate video, but I guess since we're already speaking of the children, I'll just make this quick, and perhaps I will make a separate video about it. But they say a lot of men don't come home. They probably don't necessarily come home because they're not interested in their wife. They don't come home because of the children. Like I say, they're in an unruly household. It's always loud, and maybe perhaps it's not clean, you know. And then on top of that, you know, like I say, maybe obviously because they figure, oh, the wife is supposed to take care of the house, you know, it's supposed to have everything in order when you come home, but maybe the children are running around, they're not asleep. And this came from a man's mouth. And I'm sure there's men with more than one woman pretty much saying they don't come home because of the children, you know, not necessarily because of the wife, because of the children. So you have the mom and the dad that don't want to be bothered with their children. And that's how predators get their hands on their children. Oh, let me put you in band camp. And the predators say, I'll teach him how to play trombone. You know. Okay, excuse me for laughing. That's not funny. Because it really happens. But you see what I'm saying? I'm doing this myself as a single mother. So I don't want to be bothered with my children. I'm going to send them to camp or send them to, you know, play sports. And then, like I say, that coach, you don't think that coach knows that I'm a single mother and tired or doing this myself? And then, and honestly, that's where I want to say that's where Boy Scouts came from. And Boy Scouts, they're literally pulling up cases from 50, 60 years ago on what these Boy Scouts been doing to these young boys and how they really got those badges. You see, so I want to say Boy Scouts, like basketball camp, baseball camp, you know, like, oh, that got started to help the quote unquote single mothers. You see what I'm saying? Or the single fathers, or, you know, parents who are overwhelmed. We have a basketball team for, you know, children who live in a single mother household. Like, are you a single mother and you need help? Oh, okay, well, I'll teach your son basketball. And before you know it, he's learning more than basketball. You see what I'm saying? And that's long story short. So just keep that in mind. Like I say, just don't let anything slip there. Like I say, I would rather you, and I'm not saying be a perfect parent, but I would rather you be overly protective over your children than ever letting your guard down, if that makes any sense. Even if somebody says, we have a basketball camp, I want you to bite that basketball camp, the coach's head off before you say, sure, or thank you for the offer, you know, if it makes any sense. Because we really need to protect our youth. because it's looking bad. Like, literally, there was another young man on social media. He was so upset. He said, this generation is just terrible. Like, he was just, drugs and alcohol is the cool thing. You're not cool unless you're selling drugs and ass. It was just, he was so fed up. And this was a young man, probably young enough to be my son. Young man, very frustrated. You know? So, please, please, please save the youth. Because, like I said, they're on their own and it just looks bad. And I know, I try to protect the children around me. So, I can say that I can give myself a pat on the back that if I'm around any type of children, they are cool. Even if I have to, you know, that's how it was when I was living in Vegas. Vegas was so, because it's literally like a Western movie. So you'll see mountains and dust everywhere. And it's like, wow, you're so mesmerized. So I'm thinking like, well, okay, I'm just going to sit outside on the porch and just enjoy the weather and the scenery. And there's always children running in the streets. So I have to... And then, of course, the cars drive like maniacs. So I always have to get out of the street, you know. Of course, your mom is nowhere to be found. So I always, have to kick the children out of this. Get out of the street, you know. So it's like, I don't know. I love for things to be orderly. So, I don't know. Just protect the children. I don't know what happened to us, why we stopped. Or why we stopped giving a damn about the children, but... whatever that evil spell that we're under, if we can snap out of it, and please, please, please. And the children are crying out. They need help. They really do. They're stressed. And it is bad. Please protect the youth. But anyway, well, be well and be safe.